Mark Stein, I'll start with you when it comes to this, because that's going to be one of the biggest pieces of business that the Mavericks have to take care of, getting Kyrie Irving done. Your thoughts when you see not only that information, but when it comes to Kyrie Irving, the decision that he has to make going forward here.
It is, and it is complicated. And look, around the league, I think the expectation is, I don't hear anyone forecasting scenarios where Kyrie Irving is no longer a Maverick. I haven't heard one scenario presented where he ends up with another team. But I also don't have a handy projection for how this contract is going to turn out. During the season, the whispers that were going around was that the Mavs would like to do a 3-year deal in the $40 a year range. So a 3-year deal that was $120 again. But the circumstances have changed in two major ways. On one hand, Kyrie Irving is the only elite proven guard on this roster. And with Luka Doncic no longer here, his value to the Mavericks has theoretically skyrocketed. But on the flip side, of course, as everyone knows, in early March, he sustained an ACL tear. And even though you also hear nothing but confidence that he's going to bounce back from this injury as well as you can, that's what everybody projects and expects. No one can still tell you when we're going to see Kyrie. Is it January? Is it February? And so predicting how this plays out, I wish I was that smart. Again, I don't see a scenario where he is not a Mav, but exactly where the numbers land, it's hard to say right now in early June.
It felt like this player was on his way to being an all-NBA player this year with the kind of year that he was having. That would give you an idea that he was going to be in line for a potential raise. One thing that is interesting that may or may not have any bearing on the Kyrie Irving contract, but I did think the number was interesting. A report floating out there that Tyler Hero could sign a 3-year contract worth $150 million, basically giving him $50 million a season. That's just something just to keep in mind when you're thinking about guards making that kind of money. But obviously that is number one for the Mavericks in terms of business to get done going forward here.
Yeah, last season, Kyrie made about 29% of the cap and eligible for 35. And the question, I think it's clear from his play, and Kyrie he signed this contract initially with very, very, almost no interest around the league. Certainly not at those numbers. There was almost no interest around the league. There was no interest around the league at the numbers that Dallas was willing to re-sign him at. And he signed it after Dallas had just crashed out, flamed out, not through any fault of Kyrie, but had just flamed out of the playoffs. That was 2023. They ended up getting Derek Lively, as you guys all know. By his play over the past 2 seasons, he has absolutely earned something at least closer to his max 35% of the salary cap slot. He's absolutely earned that. And I think when you look at the roster, now that Luka isn't here, he certainly has the leverage. But then there's also the injury. There is the injury at play. So I don't know how all those get balanced. And I think some of it does come down to Kyrie. What does Kyrie want to push for? So, as long as he wants to be back in Dallas, I think that, I don't know who ends up, which scale gets tipped, but it does feel like, when you consider that he's outplayed what he's making and they need him, but nobody can deny he's going to miss half of next season. And there's a little bit of, if it ends up being something very similar, maybe a slight raise, it feels like it makes sense. And, it would also be more money. That's the interesting thing. Do you sign him to more money, but you keep him at the same percentage slot? That would be a very fair thing for Kyrie Irving to argue. Say, I'm going to miss a lot of next season and have these injury concerns, even if both sides feel very confident about it. Where he's like, I don't need a raise. I need the percentage that you were going to pay me, that you were paying me, to match what is the new salary cap.
I mean, one thing in the Mavs' favor here that we need to add, only the Nets have cap space.
True.
Now, the Nets have tons of cap space, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Nets will not be using their cap space
to go get
to
Kyrie
try
Irving
to re-sign
again.
Kyrie Irving. So I mean,
there's no leverage. He has no leverage at all.
There would have to be a sign and trade for him to try to create a market. And again, there's been no I want to stress, there's been no indication that he's looking to go elsewhere. I mean, around
no one
the
has
league,
the requisite space to add him anyway, it feels like.
but that's why it was a hard negotiation last time. I mean, last time the Mavericks were essentially bidding against themselves and gave him a deal with a player option in year 3 that raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people were shocked that why is Irving getting the option in year 3 as opposed to the team? Now, the trade worked out. That deal worked out. Do you bet on the parties to find a middle ground that satisfies all these issues? I mean, history would suggest yes.
The leverage he has is himself. And again, I am laying out, I am not laying out any actual insight into how these negotiations are going to go. The one bit of leverage he has is himself. If he goes to the Mavericks and says, I totally understand the situation that we're, you guys are in, that we're in, that I'm in, and I think it's totally fair to re-sign a very similar deal, but I want it to match percentage-wise to how the salary cap is increased. And the Mavericks say, no, we want to keep you at the exact same dollar figure, 3 for $120 that you were at previously. The leverage he has is that I just made the argument why you should pay me a little bit more, and you disagreed. And the leverage is that Kyrie is like, I want to be happy here. I want to feel respected. I made a very reasonable case about why I should earn this amount. And if you guys are going to come under that, that's fine. That's one thing. But I'm also, in charge of my body and in charge of my rehab. And I want to be back as soon as possible. And I want to be my best self as soon as possible. But part of being able to do that is feeling respected on the basketball court by the employer who employs me. So I am just telling you how the leverage can work, how it can go down. I think all signs is that this is going to go perfectly fine and smoothly. But I do think because Dallas needs him so badly, even though there's no outside leverage, I think a player like Kyrie always has leverage.
All good, Corella?
I guess. I mean, I just personally, I don't know. He's not going to play this year, so like, why should he get a raise? He's a great player. Whenever you're already in a situation where like they literally can't make trades right now, they're over the second apron. There's no way that I'm gonna go into the second apron for Kyrie to miss 60 games. I'm not doing that. I'm not a GM though.
But if you're Kyrie, you're saying, okay, you start with me, and then you make all the other moves around that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.